going to use resources in this because we're going to use Laravel 8. Okay, easy and quick endpoint creation. So as you will see, there's very little code needed to create endpoints. I mean, in some of the languages, in some of the places, it's really tedious to even come up with a simple endpoint. But with Laravel, you're going to see that it's fairly fast and really quick. Returning relationships for this session, we're going to use an example of DevCon. And we're going to use the example of developers who are coming from different cities. So developers to city relationship is something that we're going to use as an example here, and you'll see that returning relationship is also a breeze in Laravel. Easy and quick API authentication. So API authentication is also a breeze. It's built in, and there are some middleware that are already built in, and API middleware is already built into Laravel, and there are other ways in which you can quickly set up API authentication as well. So moving on, why Nuxt? So first of all, Nuxt has got SSR support. So it has server-side rendering support, and which makes it awesome. Even if it is JavaScript, it is server-side rendered JavaScript, and that is something that separates it from the likes of Vue and React, and other JavaScript frameworks, because this actually you can go to pages resource, and you can see that everything is there in an SPA. In a single page application, you won't see any of that. It is not going to be indexed by Google, and it's not going to be you have zero chances at SEO. And coming from an SEO background, this was also one of the reasons that I chose Nuxt in the first place. PWA is progressive web apps. Progressive web apps are also something that Google is recently laying a lot of emphasis on, and you can build a progressive web app by simply choosing during installation, simply choosing one option during installation, and you'll get your PWA out of the box with Nuxt. It has super fast load times. So as you'll see, I mean, going between pages and everything, this is fairly fast. I mean, you can, even if you are advertising, even if you are doing hoping for SEO, page speed times are extremely important these days, and Nuxt actually takes that box as well very well. It's also equally good for SPAs. If you want to build an SPA, you can also do a no SSR side of things. And it has all qualities of Vue.js, only better. As you're going to see the code, if you're coming from a Vue background, you'll feel completely at home. It's completely exactly the same code that you use in Vue.js, and there are a few improvements as well. There is a great directory structure out of the box, so everything is included out of the box, and all you need to do is just, for example, for Vuex support, there is a folder and in which you just include an index.js file. Your Vuex is ready. Your Vuex support for that app is ready. So we'll come to this presentation in the end. Let's just start with this, and I hope you can see my item screen. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to use item, but you can, if you're on Windows or any other system for that matter, if you're Ubuntu, on Ubuntu, Linux, anything, you can use the command line of your choice. And I'm going to quickly shift from here to VS Code as well, so that everybody feels at home. So I'm going to my code folder, and I'm going to start with a fresh Laravel installation, and this is going to be Laravel new. We're going to call it DevCon. Okay, and while it does its thing, this is basically using Composer in the background. Composer is a PHP dependency manager, and how we reach here is, I mean, of course, you cannot go to your terminal right now and do Laravel new DevCon. You actually have to do a few steps further, like installing Composer and stuff. So if you go to the Laravel documentation, There are a few ways in which you can, the Laravel documentation, which has recently been revamped, it is going to show you a lot of stuff as to how you can get started, for example, on a Mac. There are other ways to go about this as well, and you can if you're starting all anew, you can use this command, and you don't have anything installed, you can actually get started because Laravel sale is now here, and you can actually get started quickly with this by just using this command. You don't need to use any other command or any other thing. You don't need to have anything else installed on your system except Docker. Yeah, if you only have Docker, you don't need to have anything else installed, and you can simply use this command, and you'll be able to install install Laravel along with Laravel sail. So you'll simply do a sail up, and you'll be up and running in Docker in no time. But for right now, we have installed Laravel, and we will cd into the directory. There's a bit of a lag that I feel is there. Can you guys see all of this live, or is there any lag?
Yeah, I think we can see your console window.
Okay, you can see the console window. Okay, perfect. Okay, so first of all, we're going to open it in VS Code. And we can open a new terminal so that everybody feels at home. Everybody, I believe the VS Code terminal is something that everyone is familiar with. And this is operating system agnostic, so everyone can use this from here on. But before we do that, one thing that I would strongly recommend is that we initiate Git on this, so that we can later on commit this. And let's just quickly commit this to our repository. And okay, so in order to, now you've got your installation, and what you need to do is now any and every command that you give in Laravel, it most of the time it starts with a PHP Artisan. So PHP Artisan is basically the start of a command. And if you want to serve your Laravel application and you want to see it in the browser, all you need to do is say PHP Artisan serve, and this is going to serve it at this address. So since I'm on item, I have the luxury of just clicking on this and opening this. Otherwise, you can simply it's a simple localhost colon 8000 or 127.0.0.1, and you'll see your Laravel installation. So voila, I mean it's this simple. So you just say Laravel devcon, Laravel new devcon, and you say PHP Artisan serve, and you've got your application running. So we've got a fresh installation of Laravel, and there are a few settings before we can, for example, connect to the database. And that is something, if you're coming from a PHP background, or in certain other languages as well, connecting to the database is a whole big affair. Getting into the database, connecting your app to the database. There's a lot of code that you sometimes have to write. But with Laravel, it's as easy as your first stop is going to be your .env file, where you see that you have all these credentials, and these are basically the environment variables for the Laravel app. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, it picks up the name from the name of the app. So you can name it anything if you want. I mean, you can of course name it Sardar if you like your name too much, or something like that. But I think let's go with devcon. So we'll do a simple MySQL -u root. And this is going to take us into MySQL, and we are going to create this database. Of course, there are other ways of doing it as well. You can use your favorite way. But all you need to do is create this database if it is not already there. Okay, and the database has been created. So just exit. And believe it or not, we are connected to the database. There's nothing else that needs to be done on our part. And if you go to the database folder, you'll see a few migrations there. These migrations are basically tables that, for example, if you go to the user table, you'll see the name, email, email verified at, password. These are something. This is a table that you get out of the box. Of course, you can customize it in any way that you like. And there are two more that you get out of the box, and one is password resets, and one is failed jobs. And if we open SQL Pro, for Windows and others, you can, for example, for Ubuntu, maybe you can use dbeaver, something like that, or in Windows you can use your whatever you're using for your stack. If you okay, so you'll see that devcon is now there, but the tables haven't arrived yet. Of course, they'll not do so automatically. So what we're going to do is, all we need to do to move these tables from your application to, since our database is already connected, all you need to do is you need to do PHP Artisan migrate. So what this is going to do is, this is going to take all these tables and migrate them to the database. So if we go back to SQL Pro and do a refresh, you'll see that your default tables are already there, and they've been migrated over. So the database is connected and our migrations are in. So what we're going to start with now is we are going to create some files for the developers and for the city, the example that we are going to use for this session. So let's just start with city first, and let's make, first of all, let's make a model. So we start with a model, and we'll there are the beauty of Laravel is that gradually the community has come up with certain commands and certain stuff that even further simplifies the stuff. So instead of giving a command PHP Artisan make model and make factory and make migration, there is an easier command, and that is PHP Artisan make model city and -mf. So this is going to create not only create a model, but it's also going to create a migration, and it's also going to create a factory in one command. So the other good thing is that whenever you give a command, you don't have to specify directories. Rarely you have to specify directories. Otherwise, I mean, you have created a migration in this command. You've created a migration. It has created a developer. It has created a cities table, and it has come in the migrations folder. It has created a factory, and it has automatically landed in the factories folder, and it has created a model, and which has also landed in the models folder. If you are used to with older versions of Laravel, this models directory is actually new in Laravel 8. So if you want to, you can also keep your models just like before. I mean, this is optional, but by default, this is what is being used. So our first stop is going to be the cities table, and now this is a table, and we are going to need to add columns. So we're going to add a city name, and okay, let's add a state. Let's add a country. Okay, let's add history. History or intro or anything, you can call it anything. This is basically just a demo, so we're calling it history. And since this is going to be long, all right. Now with string is a shorter, is a smaller field. If you need more text, like in this, we are going to use a paragraph. So this is going to need more text. So we're going to call it text, and we'll see once this is migrated as to how it looks. And the next thing that we need to do is we also need to, probably, I think it'll be good if you use a pick as well. Sorry, string. All right. So, okay, and there are two more files. All we need to do to migrate this is PHP Artisan migrate. So there's a new table created, and you do PHP Artisan migrate, and this folder is also going to, table is also going to land in your database along with all the columns created. Okay, so before we move any further, let's create the rest of the files as well for city, and we'll make a controller. And this is going to be an API controller. So we're going to do API slash cities. The convention is plural, but you can always say city controller. That is also perfectly fine. And if you add the hyphen API is basically an API flag. So if you add hyphen API flag, that is going to generate a controller specifically designed for API. So it's going to get rid of the extra fields or sorry, extra functions that are going to be there, and it is just going to give you the API functions that you need. So if you go to app HTTP controllers, there's an API folder, and you'll see the cities controller. So the controller is also there. We are in because we are building an API. We are only not going to touch views. We are going to touch models and controllers, and they are going to be the primary source of primary things that we are going to use in our app. We are not going to use views. Okay, there's one more thing that is remaining, and that is a resource. So we're going to create a resource as well. So we are simply going to call it city. And you come here and you'll see the city resource. And this is returning everything to an array right now. We'll get to this. We'll get back to this later. Okay, we're going to repeat the same process for developers. So we're going to say make PHP Artisan make model developer, and we're also going to generate a migration in a factory. Okay, again, everything automatically goes into because we committed everything that after installation. So anything that is changing, that was on purpose. Anything that is changing is coming in green. So so I believe that will give you a better idea as to how things are happening, and everything is going in its place in the app. Okay, we are going to make the controller as well. Okay, developers controller. And hyphen API, this is also going to give us the boilerplate that we really want. So if you come to this is going to show you these different functions. And these functions are the only functions that you need for an API. There are some extra functions if we don't add the API flag, they're also going to be generated, but we need to add an R flag, and that is something for a different tutorial, to be honest. Okay, so we have generated the migration, we have generated the factory, and we have generated the model, and we've also done the controller. We are left with a resource only for developer. Okay, and we are going to call it developer. Okay. So if you look at it, all you need to do till now is you've had to create about 4 to 5 different files. Okay. 4 to 5 different files, and all these commands that I gave, they're visible on this screen. So all you needed to do was make a model, make a migration, make a factory, make an API controller, and make a resource. So these are the 5 files that you are supposed to make for any one model. Our next stop is going to be the developers table. And we're going to add some columns here as well. So first of all, string. Of course, a developer has a name. A developer has a skill. Yeah, everybody is coming from a different background, so we're going to add a skill. So we're also going to add, phone, email, address, and intro. So we are going to have to convert this into a text. I'm going to use text. Okay, and pick. All right, so the developers also need a pick. these are going to be, factory generated picks, and these are not going to be ideal picks, and but still we are going to use a pick, just so that everything looks presentable on the front end. And of course, this is dummy data, so you can understand it's perfectly fine that way. Okay, so I believe, all right, we are done with everything else. The only other thing that we need to do is we need to add a reference to the cities. So every developer basically, of course, belongs to a city. So we are going to have to add a foreign ID. So with Laravel 8, it's fairly easy. I mean, before that, you had to, references on XYZ, table and stuff like that. But with Laravel 8, it's like fairly easy. And all you need to do is you need to say foreign ID, city ID, and you have to say constrained. Okay, and as long as you're following the convention and you're not using anything else besides city ID, this is going to be fine. This is going to create a foreign ID which is going to be referencing to this ID on the cities table. So I think we're good. Let me have a close look to see we are on track. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so what we'll do is let me teach you a quick new command as well. Of course, you can do PHP Artisan migrate because you just generated this this table, and this is going to migrate the developers table to the database, and along with all the columns. But there's one more command, and that command says PHP Artisan migrate fresh. Now fresh is going to rerun all the migrations, and just to be 100% sure that we have done all the migrations, we are 100% sure. But then just to also learn a new command, we'll do PHP Artisan migrate fresh. So with this, we have the cities folder in cities table, in the database, and we also have the developers table in the database. So we along with city ID and everything. All right. Now, of course, we need some data for the tables. We don't want these blank tables, of course. Until we have some data, we won't be able to show anything on the front end. So what would you do? I mean, what would you do in normal circumstances, or if you are if you are one of the developers who say, okay, all right, I'll go in and do it. So maybe you can add your data manually, but that's going to take ages, of course, right? So for that we have factories, and you can go to factories and you can generate all of this data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this on the side. Open the database on the side so that we can see that we are generating everything for a particular column correctly. So for this, we are going to use a library that we call Faker, and I believe most of you are familiar with that. But let's just open this, and you're going to see Faker. All right, sorry, no, that's for BR. Okay, okay, yeah, all right, that's the one. So we're going to use the Faker library, which is basically already built into Laravel. So what you need to do is, if you go to name, for example, if you just search name quickly, you'll see that echo Faker name when you're using the Faker library is going to generate a name like this. All right, and we want to generate every time a row is populated, we want to generate a specific a random name, if you may. So so this is how we're going to do it. This Faker name. All right, this is going to get us a random name every time one one row is populated. All right, and since we are in city, so we don't want a person's name, we want a city name. So if you go to city, you'll also see that there are if you use city, this is going to generate a city name like this for you. We're going to change this with city. All right, And as you can see, this is extremely readable. So it just says this faker city, this faker name, this faker, whatever. So so state. So you have a state. Sorry, you also need to change this. Copying is not always the best approach. All right, country, and we also have country. I'm not going to go back to faker again and again. These are well-known faker methods. So you can just use these. All right. For history, we'll have to get a bit creative. All right, because for history, high story. All right. Okay. So we're going to get a bit creative, and we are going to go to faker, and we are going to look for a paragraph. Okay, I hope it gets me there. Yeah. And we're going to use this line. So this is going to give us a paragraph with 3 sentences. I think that'll suffice. And what are we left with? We are left with a pick. And again, for pick, we'll have to get a little creative, and what we need to do is we need to go to another service that Faker actually used to use, but they're not using anymore. So, and they only display placeholder images now if you use Faker options. So I'm going to use this because this is going to be a bit better. And I know that the size that I'm going to need is going to be 720 by 480. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use these different images. As I said, these are not ideal developer images, so don't blame me for that. But we just need people images, yeah. Okay, so this faker, no, we are not going to use that. We are going to say, okay, for every single row we want this, and then we then we are going to suffix it with end it with a number from 1 to a random number from 1 to 10. So this is going to give us, people/1, people/2, people/10, whatever. All right. So this is going to get us random picks every time a row is populated for city. And of course, I'm sorry, because we're using city, so we're going to use the city one. We are not going to use people. We're going to use people for the developer factory. All right. So let's get to developer factory now. And let's open the developer table. Okay, so name, we're going to say this faker. I'm terrible with spelling sometimes. Okay, this faker name. And for ID, again, we're going to use something different. For ID, we're going to say city. Now, city is going to be, there are 2 ways that we can use city directly in the developer factory, and my favorite way is like this: app model city. Okay, and we're going to say pluck. So this is going to pluck an ID from the table, and we're going to say random. So this is an intriguing way of saying, okay, go to the city table and pluck the IDs from there and just give me a random ID here. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. Then we go to scale. And we say this, and we again have to do something slightly different. So we have to pick a random element out of an array. So we can say Laravel, Next.js, Vue.js, and yeah, just to make everyone feel happy. React, Node.js, I was actually surprised yesterday, like Jawabi was giving this presentation, and he even mentioned CSS and HTML, but he didn't, yeah, I think he didn't even mention PHP. I mean, that's very strange. But anyways, I'm going to mention everyone. All right, so probably not everyone. I think I'm going to try and see what I can do. Angular, and let's also do Go. All right, so these are developers skills. So they are coming from these different backgrounds. And what we're going to do is we are actually setting this up so that one random element, every time a row is populated, one random element is going to be picked up from this and it's going to be populated in the database. Okay, the next one is phone. And there's a well-known Faker instance. Sorry, I'll still have to do Faker. Okay, this Faker phone number. Okay, email. So Faker has an excellent API. So I mean, you can almost guess most of the things. But if there is something that you still need to do, you can of course go to the documentation and check. There are 2 to 3 different options. There is safe email, there is email, and I think there's one more as well for email. But you can simply use email as well. That's fine. Then there is address, and this is going to give us address. Okay, address is going to give us address. And for pick, we're going to use because we're going to use this same API. Okay, so I think we're good. Yes, I think we missed intro. Okay, for intro. I know this might sound like a bit of a setup, but this is just to kind of get you started. This is once you've got all of this set up, this is going to give you the minimum amount of trouble, and this is going to get you up and running fairly quick. So we're just going to take this from City Factory because we just need a paragraph. This is going to be a random paragraph. And I think there was something that I missed in the City Factory. It was, yeah, no, country is there. Okay, country is there, but instead of using this random countries, because most of these states are going to be US states. So we are going to assume that like everyone is coming from the USA, and we are going to fill that. So you can, if there is a need to hard code any data, you can very well do that as well. All right, and before we now populate the database using these factories, our only last stop is going to be the database seeder file in the database folder, and you're going to see that there is one file that is being there's one line that is being commented out. We're going to uncomment that, and we are going to say we're going to add city and developer. All right, so it's going to give us 10 users and it's going to give us 10 cities, and let's make it 20 developers, or maybe let's even make 50 developers. You can even make 500. You can even say 200 cities and 500 developers, but we don't want it to be that messy. For now, we're only going to use 10 users, 10 cities, and we're going to use 50 developers. And if we've got everything correctly set up, all we need to do is we do PHP Artisan migrate fresh and add a seed flag. And what this is going to do is this is going to run the migrations, and this is going to add a line in the end saying database seeding completed successfully. So out of all that setup, just this one, we just get this one line. Okay, let's go to the database and see if something has changed. So you go to the users table and you see that there is like, along with complete details, we've got like a name, email verified at, blah, 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 everything in the users table. we've got 50 developers, and all of them are associated to one particular city. And we've got random skills that have been populated in the database. We've got phone numbers, we've got random emails, we've got random addresses, and we've also got random texts. We also got the introduction and the timestamps. They have also been populated as they were populated during the process. So if we go to the cities folder, table, sorry, we also see 10 entries with country as USA, just as we specified, but different cities with different states, and the history and everything. So so we've got our data now. So how do we show it in an API endpoint? So if we go to our application now, I mean, we only see a Laravel basic screen, and we don't see anything. Of course, we're not going to, because we'll need to go to that particular endpoint, and we haven't set up that endpoint. So before we can see that, we're going to have to go to the api.php file. And first of all, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to say we are going to have to import our controllers. Okay, app http controllers API, and we are going to say cities controller. Okay, and also developers controller. Okay, so we've got our cities controller, and we've got our API, our developers controller, and we have imported them. And just to check that they are plural, okay, cities controller, developers controller. All right, and so all we need to do in order to generate those API endpoints is we are going to have to generate a route, and that is going to say API resources, and we're going to pass in an array. And it's going to pass, so we're going to say, okay, we want an endpoint that says our app URL /API /developers. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to say developers, and we are going to use the developers controller class. So you can pass the fully qualified class. Okay, and if we do cities, controller class. All right, so we have our API file, and we have added the developers endpoint, and we have added the cities endpoint, and this is going to go to, this is an API resource, so this is going to take all its instructions from the developers controller in the API folder, which we have already imported at the top. So any request that comes to this endpoint, this is going to come to the this is going to route to the developers controller, and we don't have anything right now in the developers controller. So if we go to /API /developers right now, okay, it goes up. Developers controller, app HTTP controllers, API. Okay, let me see. Okay, all right. Controllers, API, developers controller. Okay, and developers controller. All right. Okay, let me see. Developers controller. So everything looks in place. Okay, we'll move forward and we'll see as to what is the problem. Okay. So we are going to say in this, we are in the controller. We are also going to import the model first. Okay, and we are also going to import the resource. And developer as dev resource. Okay, and in the index function that is going to return the main endpoint data. This is in this we're going to say developers latest get. Now again, this is extremely readable, so this is going to get you the latest developers, and we're going to say return. So we want the dev resource to return a collection of the developers. All right. Sorry, we're not passing the complete class. We're only going to pass developers, just developers collection above. Okay. Okay, give me a moment, please. Okay, still giving us the same error. Give me one moment. Okay, where else did we make a change and reference this? Okay, let's go to the cities. Okay, it's giving us the same error. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, yes. Sorry. I always, almost always, I know that this is a mistake in my spelling somewhere. All right, and as you can see, we have our API endpoint up and running and working, and all that was needed on our part was to generate all these 5 files and make the settings there, and we can literally generate any amount of data in any way that we want. So, for example, like this is showing right now with the name, city ID, scale, and everything. So this is one developer. And if we go to cities, yeah, okay, we haven't configured cities yet. Let's actually do that as well. Let's go to cities controller, and we will also use the same setting here. Models city, and okay, sorry, use app HTTP now. Okay, and controllers. Okay, I'm sorry. We need to import the resource here. Live coding has its own issues, so I hope you guys will bear with me. Okay, app HTTP resources, and we'll go to, okay, city, and we'll say city resources, city resource, sorry. Okay, with the model and resource imported, we are going to use the same routine. We're going to say cities, and we want it to return the latest city. Say cities. So latest get, and we say return city resource collection, and we say cities. All right, so we're going to return these cities in the form of a collection on the cities endpoint. So if you go to the cities endpoint, so /API/cities, you'll see that that is also showing. If you want to, let me have a quick look at the time. Okay. So we are returning both cities and developers on their respective endpoints. And if we go back to the developers endpoint, as you can see, the city ID is showing as a number. You know, it's the very number. It's coming from the database, and we're also returning ID, which is obviously not ideal. I mean, normally in any situation, you would not like to return the database ID to you would not like to expose it in an API. So what we're going to do is we are going to now customize what we are returning, and what we can do is before we do that, there is one more setting that we need to do, and that is setting up the relationship between the two. So so till now we have set up our database and everything, but the app doesn't know that these two are related to each other. So we are going to add the relationship, and we're going to see as to how things change from there on. So we're going to add a public function here, and this is going to say cities. City. It's going to be singular because every single developer actually belongs to one city. Of course, I mean, you can belong to more than one, but I think 99% of the people just belong to one city, and they would like to identify themselves as belonging to that particular city. So we will say return this, and again, see how readable this is. Return this belongs to, and let me pass the whole class in. Return this belongs to city class. So basically, developer belongs to city. So I don't think it can be any more readable. All right. Now coming to the city model, we are also going to set up a public function that we call it an inverse relationship. So we are going to say developers. So now we know that every city has many developers. All right. Every city has many developers. And this is exactly what we're going to say in the code. Return this has many. Okay, let's pass the class. Okay, developer class. So basically, a city has many developers, and a developer belongs to a city. So that's all that you need to do in order to tell the app that these two models are related to each other. And of course, in the table as well, we have the city ID, which is also depicting that they are related to each other. But anyways, if you click on any one of these, this is going to take you to the cities. But right now in our API, that relationship is not being shown. And even if we refresh, this is still going to show the city ID as 4. So we'll go to the resource. We'll go to the resource, and instead of returning everything to an array, what we're going to do is we're going to use a new array. And again, a lot of use of the word this. And I think this is really cool. You know, just say name, this name, and this is going to return the name. Okay, and so that's the name of the city and state. and you say this state and country. Okay, now this is returning the name, the state, and the country. And this is also, we also need to return the, of course, return the pick. Pick, and I think there was history. Okay, now this is going to return the name, the state, the country, the history, and the pick. And if we now go to the cities endpoint, it's just going to return these things. It's not returning any timestamps. It's not returning any ID, nothing of the sorts. And if we go back to the developers resource, and we modify what we are returning here as well. And sorry, not an object. We are going to return an array. Okay, this is also going to be again name of the developer. Okay, this is also going to return, what else did we have? Okay, skill. This is going to say this skill and phone. I think I need to somehow speed this up. This phone. Okay, and email, address, and also the pick. Of course, we need to add a picture, and we also need the city. Yes, don't we? So, what is this going to return in your opinion? What is this going to return? Is this again going to return the same same number? Yeah, no. It's going to be different. So I save and I refresh. And now this is going to show you the name, the scale, the phone, email, phone, and address, and pick and everything. But this is also showing you the complete city model. Because they're related to each other, it's going to show you city, name, state, country, so complete everything from this, everything from the city. So if you, for example, if you just want the city name, if you just want to return the city name, what then? So this is just going to say city, and this is just going to give you the city name. So you can customize it in any way that you like. You can include stuff, you can exclude stuff, you can add more than one. You can call it city. You know, you can make a city name. You can say, you know, state if you want to return the city state. So that is going to return any and everything that you want in the way that you want. But since we're going to use slightly different settings, and we're going to call these child elements from the front end, so let's just keep it to city this city. So I think we are ready with our API, and as you can see, if you are developing a project, the amount of time that it takes to develop an endpoint is insanely small. I'm not really sure. I haven't used a lot of other you know, languages and frameworks and stuff, but I think this is going to be fairly. This is one of the quickest that you can possibly do in the most readable and in the easiest fashion possible. So since we have our backend ready, let's move on to next bit, and let's set up our next tab. And let's see how we can consume this same API in Next. So Next is also amazing. Like I wish they could do a bit better on their documentation. Honestly, Laravel has excellent documentations. They're very detailed. They've recently been revamped by Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel. With Nux, things are not as clear, and you know, this color scheme and everything, but still, I mean, they're good. So if you come to Nux documentation, you'll see that there are more than one ways in which you can create a Nux application. And for example, if you are a Yarn guy, you can do it with Yarn. You can do it with npm. But my favorite way is, npx. So if you've got a latest version enough, you can actually go to you can of npm, you can actually use npx, and that is something that I like to use. So we're going to say npx create nutstab, and we're going to call it devcon fe. So front end, yeah. So fe means front end. So so this is also going to be really nice, and you're going to love their installation process. It's going to ask you a few questions, and some people might be bugged by them, saying, oh, right, they're asking so many things in the start, and why is it taking so long and stuff. But it's just about 10, 11 questions. And once you've answered these questions, they are going to be like really helpful in the setup and everything. A lot of these things, just make a choice and you get something out of the box. So you'll see that Nuxt is amazing. So is its installation process. All right, so project name, just click. It's going to take the same name. We're going to use JavaScript. We're going to use npm. You can use yarn as well. Even now, I mean, even if you're installing it with npx. And I particularly like Tailwind, so I'm going to go with Tailwind. But you can go with anything. I'm not here for any of those recent wars that are happening with Bootstrap and Tailwind. So so you can very well go with Tailwind. You can very well go with Bootstrap View. You can go with Beautify, anything that you like. Beautify, anything Bulma, anything that you like. I'm going to go with Tailwind. And we need some. We're going to use Axios in order to fetch data from this API. So we're going to use Axios. And now look at this. So progressive web app. So all you need to do is just click this box, and you get a PWA out of the box. No extra settings needed, and that is something amazing. Content, not for this demo. Linting, no. No testing framework for this demo. And okay, rendering mod. So use SSR universal. There are two mods. One is universal and one is single page app. So as I said, you can also build an SPA. You can also build a universal or SSR app, and we're going to go with SSR. Deployment target. So if you're deploying on, if you're going to build a static app and you're going to deploy it on something like Firebase, you can go with static or Netlify. If you are for example going to use something like Heroku or Vercel or something like that, you can go to you can choose this server option. Mostly for SSR, I use the first option. Okay, JS config, yes, because we are using VS Code, semantic pull request, and Dependabot for auto updating dependencies. This is really awesome. This is also going to send you emails saying, okay, this dependency has been updated, or it automatically bumps up your dependencies as well. And I like to keep my dependencies up to date, so I'll go with this. Okay, what is your GitHub username? That's my GitHub username. And version control system, you want to use Git. So you're going to get a lot of these things out of the box. Okay, while it installs. I'm unable to see time. Anybody can tell me how much time is remaining before we need to close this? I believe it was 2 hours.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour session, and we still have about 50 minutes.
50 minutes. All right, that's a lot. Okay. So next is installing packages with npm. And it's just going to take a while. All right, you can ignore the warnings. That's perfectly fine. Okay, by the way, if you want to, we're going to come to this in the end, but there are both Laravel and Nux. They have some amazing, video tutorials that you can find online. And Mastering Nux is something that they recently launched, and you can go there and you can actually learn Nux. There are other resources as well that I'll share in the end. All right, so we are done, and we'll do what it says. So we'll go to devcon FE. And we'll say npm run dev. Okay, and let me add this folder also to the workspace. All right, so we have devcon and devcon FE. And okay, now it's compiling its files, and while it's doing that, let's go to this URL that comes ready with okay, I'm sorry about the generated noise. I hope it's not creating a nuisance. Okay, so Nux is actually building when it installs, it actually builds both the bundles, the client bundle and the server bundle. Okay, it's taking a bit of time. Okay, since this is building for the first time, this is going to take some time. After that, when you make any changes, there is Nux.js is actually hot reload. It reloads in a way that you don't need to refresh your browser. It is hot reload is included out of the box. So you just save and it just kind of reloads. I think it might as well also be because of this VS Code terminal. Sometimes that also slows things. Okay, so while it does its thing, we are going to go we're going to have a quick review of the folder structure. So Nux has this awesome folder structure in which we have, first of all, we got assets. It has GitHub, of course, that doesn't need any, and because we got Dependabot, it has its own YAML file. Then it has this assets folder in which you can keep, for example, your SVG files, your some of your other stuff. I mean, even images. But for images, I normally like to use the static folder. So if you just keep an image here, you can use it without any additional path. You can directly use it in your files. Then there is components, so we're also going to use components. Then there is layouts. If you want a layout to go across the app, that is going to come here. Then there is middlewares. Any middlewares come here. Pages. Everything is self-explanatory. So if we go to localhost colon 3000 port 3000, this is going to give us the devcon FE. Not very fancy, but this shows that that Nux is installed. And if you go to view dev tools installed, this is going to give you this cute icon, and this is going to tell you that Nux.js plus Vue.js is detected on this page. So you can use view dev tools as well. And if you go to this Tailwind URL, you're going to see these different colors and as to how they can be referenced in while using them. I mean, if you've used Tailwind for a while, you can easily do these things. You don't really need to go to this, but just in case if you want to. So our API is running at these endpoints both endpoints that we created, and we reversed some of the changes, so it is back to what it was before. And what we're going to do is we're going to, just for the sake of saving some time, we're going to go to a site called Tailblocks. And this actually goes, to be honest, it's actually funny because it actually goes against the very essence of using Tailwind, copying pre-made templates and stuff. But just for the purpose of this demo, and just to speed things up, we are doing this. So so if you come here, you're going to see in the index page, you are going to see that that it has all this boilerplate, and I think we'll get rid of the styles. Okay, and we'll leave the scripts tag, and we'll only leave one div, and we'll take everything else out. Okay, you need to actually have at least one div here in the template. It's called a parent div. So if you have more than one parent div, that's going to cause a problem. So we have copied this code here, and we are going to get rid of the initial stuff. And if you just save and you come back, and you'll see that it is rebuilding, and it will show you these blocks here. Okay, and before we go any further, let's also import a menu. So we'll go down and we'll see if we have a menu that we like. Menu, footer, gallery, header. Did it go? Okay, I think we missed it. Blog content, CTA, e-commerce, features, footer, gallery, header. All right. Okay, they're calling it a header. Okay. So I think I like this one. So we'll just view code and copy this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to components. Okay, thank God they shut it down. And just add a new file saying menu.view. Okay, and all you need to do is you need to go and add this template tag and paste this here. And there is something as of Nux 2.12, I guess there is something that actually auto imports components. So if you go to nuxconfig.js, which is basically the env file of Nux, I mean you can say it's the parallel of an env file in Nux. And if you go to this file, you'll see a lot of these settings. And if you go to, you'll see that Tailwind CSS is included and components is set to true. That means that any components that you put in the components folder, all you need to do in order to import those components is one simple line, and that is this. So all you need to do is just say menu and a self-closing tag, and okay, and you should see it here. All right, so you see the menu on top. So any pages that you build, all you need to do is just say menu on top, and this is going to auto import the menu. And let's make some changes to start with. So let's say WebRammers, and in Nux you can very well use these these tags, but you can the best way of doing it is Nux link to, and let's just set it to home, and let's call it developers. Yeah, and let's also close this, otherwise it's going to throw something at us. So as you can see, in the typical view fashion, this is including everything in the HTML, and in the typical Tailwind fashion, everything is included in the HTML. So that is one way of doing things in an atomic way. In a way, these atomic classes, these are added. All this stuff is added within HTML, and that is something that is quite trendy these days, and that is something that is gaining a lot of traction. So instead of building all these separate files and adding everything there, it saves you a lot of headache. So we're going to also do another cities cities link, but we haven't built a cities page, right? We haven't done that. So what are we going to do? If we go to, you're going to see that the changes are there, but if you go to developers, this is going to stay here. If you go to cities, of course, it is not there. But all you need to do in order to, kind of no setting with the routers if you're coming from a view background and nothing else. All you need to do is cities.view. Just add this in the pages folder, and Nux is going to take care of everything on its own. So if we, let's say, do this, add a parent div, and let's have something to show, yeah? So let's just go back and try and find something else that we can use for cities. Yeah, probably this. No, we also need something with images. Okay, now this looks good. So we'll copy this to clipboard, and we're going to paste it here. And we're also going to add the menu on top. So if you go to the cities tab now, not only the page is there and everything, the router, the view router, and all those settings that you have to do in view, that has been automatically taken care of by Nuxt. So it's fairly simple and it's fairly fast, and that is something that you can that can immediately get you up and running. So I think enough with the menu and stuff. Let's go back to index and let's get into the real stuff. Let's just add an H1 on top. Okay, H1, and let's call it list of developers. So we want to actually bring in the list of developers here, and let's add a class in the Tailwind way. So we'll say text for Excel. So this is going to give it a large text size. Text green 800. So this is going to give it a really green shade. The only notch up is text green 900, but we're going to give it text green 800. And we're also going to add, let's say, what else? I have a bad habit of controlling, of pressing Control S all the time, and it rebuilds regardless of any change or not. Okay, so text for Excel, and then text green 800, and text syntax. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, going back to developers, and you see that why doesn't it have anything? Okay, so list of developers, we have a heading, and it has a large size, and it has a green shade. So if we want to change it to something like red, all you need to do is green red, text red 800, and that's going to change. I actually like green better. All right, so now let's go. Let's get to the API fetch part. And before we do that, I think there's one thing that we need to do, and I would like to get rid of these extra images. These extra images, for example, like I would like to get rid of this. As you can see, these are 3 different divs with the width 1 by 3. That means this is going to cover 1/3 of the width. So I'm going to get rid of these 1 by 1, these extra divs 1 by 1. So get rid of 1. And I think I need to be careful I don't get rid of an extra div. All right. So I think that should leave us with just 1 div. All right, it does. So let's just fetch the data from API, and we're going to do it in an asynchronous way. We're going to use async await, and that's one of the beauties of JavaScript, and also of Nux. This is going to give us some. We will not need to kind of trigger this function. This is going to be automatically triggered, and this is going to fetch data from the endpoint that we specify. So we're going to use ES6 destructuring, and we're going to use Axios, and we also want our error messages, if any. Okay, and we are going to put a try catch block here. Okay, a try catch block. Okay, and we are going to say const, let's call it data. And we are going to say axios.get. You can also use fetch, by the way. There are more than one ways of doing this. You can also use Vuex, and we are pressed against time. Otherwise, I really wanted to demonstrate as to how you can use Vuex, and that actually gives you, a lot more control. You can actually do some time travel in Vuex, and you can actually go back to a particular point and see as to why something was working or otherwise at any one point in time. But let's just go to, let's just use this API/developers endpoint. Okay, so this is going to be const data is equal to axios get. Okay, and we're going to use this, and then we're going to return. Okay, VS Code is not always helpful. All right, so we're going to say, all right, this is the developers page. So we're going to say developers, and normally it would only suffice saying data, because this is going to be because we are bringing in data, but because we are wrapping, if you look at your API endpoint, everything is being wrapped in a data in data. So we are also going to have to use another data. All right, we're also going to cache our errors, and let's pass in an object here, which says status code .503, and we'll also add a message that says unable to fetch or bring or whatever. This is just generic text, so you can define the message of your choice. So unable to fetch developers, yeah. So maybe check console for more details. Anything that you want, yeah. Literally anything that you want. So I think if our page is still loading correctly, that means we've got everything done correctly. No, it says unable to fetch developers. Okay, so let's see what we've done wrong here. Okay, give me just one moment, please. All right, is it okay? Yes, sorry. I think because we used a sync, we were supposed to also use await, right? So we used the sync, but I forgot await. So so let's just put await here. All right, so I think we should be good now. Okay. All right, so our page is loading correctly. That means we've got developers. We've got our developers data from our developers endpoint, and if we go to inspect, and if we go to view DevTools, you can see that when you go to Next and you go to Pages Index, you'll see that the developers developers data is there, and along with all its 50 children. So I actually like some of these terminologies. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use this here in order to show all our developers on this page. And I think let's speed things a bit. And what we'll do is we'll go back to the div that was that had this 1 by 3. Okay, so now this is going to, what we're going to do is in the typical view fashion, if you're coming from a view background, is exactly the same syntax. So V for developer in developers. Okay, and just to get rid of this squiggly line, I know a lot of us skip this, and this is completely optional, but it's a good practice, to be honest. Developer.id. So we're going to cycle through. This is a way in Vue to cycle through developers. We're going to cycle through every single developer, and we are going to it gives us 50 children now. I didn't want to come here before it showed, but anyways, now this is category. So what we should do is probably let's show the city here for the developer, for every developer, and we can say developer dot developer dot city dot name. Okay, so it rebuilds, and as you can see, all the city names are now showing here. All the city names for every single developer are showing here, and of course we want the developer name. So developer dot name, and I'm not going to press Control Save. I'm just going to do it once I'm done with everything. And okay. So anything that you want to display in Vue, as you know, you just need to put these curly braces around it. And developer's name, and this is going to be developer's intro. And as we can see, there is an image here as well. So let's bind the image to this. We cannot do curly braces in images. So we're going to say source, and we're going to bind it to developer dot pick. Okay, so this is going to put the developer's picture in resource in source. And if we go to the alt, and this is one bit that I really like in terms of SEO. So what you can do is you can put a developer's name here. So if the image is not loading in the alt text, it's going to show the respective name of the developer, and that is a good way of setting alt text, which is extremely important for SEO. So we go back to our page, you'll see that we are seeing a lot of this stuff coming through. So for example, we are seeing images. I'm sorry, as I said, it's really slow. I don't want to really, okay, they've only brought this one image here. But anyways, they're going to pull in more, and I think it's not bringing in intro. So let's see. I think we forgot to return it in our endpoint. Is it returning the intro? No, it's not. So we're going to go to the API resource, and it's this simple. It's actually good that this happened because I can demonstrate this. So you don't need anything else. You just need to go to app HTTP resource and go to developer resource. And all you need to do is you need to change it with intro. So this endpoint is also going to now return the intro. And as it does that, that is also going to reflect on our front end, and this is going to now, as I said, don't blame me for these. These are dummy pictures. So obviously these are not going to be developer pictures. Maybe this one with the happy face is a developer, but you never know. I mean, of course, some of these children, they might grow up to be to become developers, but for now, this is what we can do with. This is completely dummy data. And as you can see, for the developer that for whose the picture is not being fetched yet, this is showing alternate text. I'm really sorry. I think my system is really resource hungry at this point in time, and this Lorem Pixel API is also like it's quite slow. So that's why the images are coming in slow. And as you can see, the name of the city, the name of the developer, and the intro is actually fetched along with the pic, and everything is showing for all 50 developers. All right, let's just quickly replicate the same for cities. So we go to the city page. Okay, so we will change this to list of cities. And I think we'll leave this as that, as it is. And let's first bring in the cities. So as we added this, there is no script tag here. Yeah, okay. And we are going to do the same routine. So async data, Axios error, and a try catch block. Okay, and we are going to say, oh wait, sorry, const data. I'm going to say await axios.get, and we are now going to use, of course, the cities endpoint. The cities endpoint, and going to return, not again, okay, cities, and again this is going to be data.data, and error, okay, you can say status code 503, message unable to fetch cities. And I think if you're a good programmer, of course, you'll go to console if you don't find anything is working. So, okay, now let's bring in the cities. So again, we're going to get rid of these extra divs that have the width of 1/4, because we're going to cycle through the cities. Okay. Okay, we're good. We only have one. And again, we're going to do the same here. So it's going to be v4 city in cities. And the key is going to be city.id. Okay, and let's do this subtitle. This looks okay. Now we got all these children, but then okay, which one do we use for city? Okay, let's use this other one. This subtitle might, maybe we might as well bring in the city state, city.state, and let's add the source. Let's bind the source to the image, and that'll be city.pic. And again, in the alt text, we are going to say city.name. And okay, this Chikenitsa, we are going to change this to the city name. Okay, and for some text, we had city history. Okay, and if we have done everything correctly, I think we'll have everything. So we have Texas as the state, we have the city name, we have the city lorem ipsum text that is showing the city, history, if you may, and it's not showing the pic. So let's just go back and see if we are returning the pic in the, yes, we are. Okay, let's see if we set it up in the factory correctly, because I mean it might as well be returning something. Let's just check from here. Oh yes, it is. It is showing. So yes, okay. Sorry, it's taking time. I don't know, due to some reason this is taking a lot of time. It doesn't normally take that much amount of time. And once everything is loaded, moving between these is really fast. I mean, right now it might not look as fast, but if you go to any Nux site, you'll see that everything is blazingly fast. So it just seems like you're working on local. You just need to click, and you're just there. So I think the one odd thing that's looking is this button. So let's just replace it with something more reasonable. Although, I mean, we can even live with that. But let's just go to the menu and let's change the button to register. So register can actually point to, another route where you can go and, kind of register for this site. And although this is taking time, I think you can appreciate that that this is going to show all the images in time, and now it does. Okay, so now once this is loaded, and you can go to developers, and you'll see all these images here. Okay, and we see a lot of lady developers, and these are the city images. So so this is pretty much it. So this is how we build an API with Laravel, a REST API with Laravel, and we consume it in Nux. And as you can see, this is as I run this channel, and I promote this a lot. With dev, not everything with development doesn't have to be more boring than it already is. So all you need to do is you need to just keep your pace up with the latest tech that is out there. Now, when I do Laravel new DevCon, that actually pulled the latest repo. Just yesterday, there was one change that was it was including a sale env entry in the Laravel env file, and today it's not there. So I personally, and that was for a reason, because it gave a lot of people some tears. I mean, when they were doing some installations, it was giving them a bit of headache. Why is this not going through? And there was a completely new error that was being thrown. So ideally, I think I advocate this a lot. Learn the latest technologies and go with the latest things. Don't just stick to your legacy guns, legacy tech guns. And just don't insist on jQuery, and don't insist on I'm sorry if somebody is coming from jQuery, somebody really likes it. I mean, try and change, and this is going to change the way that you build your stuff. And in less than 2 hours, I believe we are ready with a REST API that is being consumed on the front end. So I believe that is it, and I hope you can see the value of this, and I hope you had a wonderful time and you learned something. Sorry for the small glitches that happened along the way, and over to the moderators. If there is any questions or anything that I can answer, I would love to do that. Okay, sorry, before we do, sorry. Hold on for a second. Just before we do that, let me just go to these last 2 slides that were pending. I'm extremely sorry about this. There was this, I wanted to actually share some learning resources. If you have taken some value from this, you can go to these learning resources. So Laravel learning resources are, Laracast is very well known to the Laravel community. So a lot of people go to Laracast, and you'll literally find everything, including what I've taught you here, over there. I mean, the API, maybe API development needs some more tutorials. They need more tutorials there, but still, there are some there. Then we have the Laravel documentation itself. So you can go to the Laravel documentation, and you can actually see a lot of stuff there. Then you can go to YouTube, and the most unlikely resource is Twitter. So you can go to Twitter, and you can follow a few of the big shots. I'm quite active on Twitter, and a lot of what I've learned is from Twitter. The latest things, they come first on Twitter, and all the big shots of any particular tech are on Twitter, and they announce everything first on Twitter. So you should really go to Twitter and follow these important people. Also, for Nux, you can go to Vue Mastery. They have this course on scaling Vue with Nux.js. It's awesome. It's really everything is explained in a lot of detail. You can go to Vue School, where you can study more if you want to have a look. There's a course on async data with Nuxt.js. Of course, you can go to YouTube, and there's another lesson in Vue School. I'm going to try and include this in the repository notes so that you can have a look. And of course, there is Twitter again. So these are the resources that you really need in order to be successful as a developer in these two technologies. And I really hope that you guys go there and increase your learning from here on. Thank you. Back to the moderators.
So we have one question here for you.
Yes, please.
So it's from Ali Raza. Pardon for my question here, but why to use Laravel or other web development languages when we can use CMS like Wix, WordPress, etc.?
Okay, Laravel is not something. Laravel is not a tool to build websites. If you are hoping to build a website, I think it's best that you use WordPress. It's best if you use Wix. Even, I mean, if you are completely if you don't know how to code, I think Wix and WordPress is a great way to go, and a lot of people are going these days. And I saw a meme today in the morning where developer was pulling somebody from a customer from Wix. So a lot of people are migrating. A lot of people are doing that themselves. But if you are planning to build a website, Wix, WordPress, all of those, you can go there. But if you are planning to build a web app, you cannot do that with WordPress. You cannot do that with Wix. That you can only do with Laravel and tools like this. I hope I'm making sense.
Perfect. I get that.
Yes,
right. So we have another question for you.
Yes, please.
So what you like the most, Vue.js or React.js? And yeah, that's about it. So that's the thing. That's the question. What do you like the most, Vue.js or React.js?
To be extremely honest, I would really like to, but I'm some of the people who would really like to specialize in one aspect of what they're doing. I'm actually quite intrigued and a bit motivated to learn Go, maybe from what I heard from Jawad Bhai. But the thing is, like right now, I think I like Vue, and I would like to actually use Vue going forward. And if you look at the stats, like not in the Pakistan tech industry, a lot of people are still using React, but a lot of people, I mean, internationally, Vue is gaining a lot of traction, especially Nuxt is also coming up. A lot of people are using Nuxt as well. And if you're building websites, again, as I said, Nuxt can be a great tool for front end. So I would really go for Vue. And I believe simplicity and the way Vue is built, it's really awesome. So I would actually vote for Vue. Yeah. You can count this as biased, but yes, because I use Vue, but Vue is actually great.
Perfect. So there's one more question for you. Which framework is better, Laravel or Falcon?
To be honest, this is the first time that I'm hearing about Falcon. I've heard of Symfony. I've heard of others. There are a lot of other frameworks, other languages, and they have their own frameworks. And I can understand. I mean, once you get into this set of this mindset, and you start learning a technology and you go deeper into it, you start liking it more and more. But I know a lot of people who have, for instance, who have learned Django and have learned other stuff, and they're interested in learning Laravel. So Laravel is, to be honest, it is one of the most elegant frameworks that are out there, and one of the frameworks which has the least learning curve. So you can. So I think Laravel again will be my framework of choice now and even going forward.
I have a question, Madhya, if you don't mind asking me that.
Please go ahead, Arya.
Yes, right.
Hi, Nawab. This is Rahil from Islamabad. I do not have much experience with PHP. In start of my career, I built a couple of applications in PHP. So it's been like over a decade. I didn't touch it. Some some hands-on with the WordPress as well. But for the sake of the new generation that is coming up, and I see these questions a lot, so for the sake of their understanding, please answer this question. Where do you see PHP in, let's say, next 5 to 10 years? The kids who are coming up from the colleges today, they see PHP with a very suspicious eye that it not be around for, let's say, next 1-2 years when they hear the buzzwords like React.js and artificial intelligence and data science. I mean, where it will going to stand in next 5 to 10 years when those kids will going to be building up their careers on PHP or anything else?
Actually, Rahul, I wanted to actually cover this in my presentation, and to be honest, I added a few slides and some memes, and then I took them out, honestly, because I didn't want to really offend anyone.
I knew that. I saw you deleting those slides. That's precisely why I asked you this question.
So to be honest, I mean, just this morning I was reading this article on Medium, and somebody was saying, okay, just because you don't like PHP, it doesn't mean that it is dead. Most of the people, you know, and there was this statement that this guy gave, and that was, you know, why are you learning PHP while this new tech is there? So this new tech has been replaced by, you know, I think 20 to 30 different languages, but PHP is still there. It's alive and kicking. And as you said, I mean, a lot of people coming from the tech background, what the biggest problem with PHP is that most of the people used it when it was like PHP 4.x, and they still feel it's the same old you know, language that takes all this time doing all this stuff and all. But with PHP, the PHP that we have today, like especially like PHP 8 has just been released, Laravel 8 has just been released. There are so many improvements, and as you have seen during the course of this session as well, Laravel and PHP are something that are completely new. And even if, having said that, even if somebody doesn't like PHP, you know, Laravel, I say this a lot, Laravel, and I stand by this, Laravel actually lives on a different planet than PHP. Even if you don't like PHP, you can very well learn Laravel, and you can use Laravel in your daily workflow.
Perfect. I think we have another question for you. So the question is, Microsoft provides great support for its products. Do we get same for Laravel?
Yes. Okay. I think the likes of Laravel and Google and they are behind different technologies. Like for example, we saw this Azure the presentation. We saw Flutter earlier in the day, which is supported by Google. Laravel is not that lucky, but it has an excellent community. It has a community that builds a lot of packages around any and everything that you want to do. And you literally find a package for anything that you really have in mind. It has a great community. Its creator and maintainer Taylor Otwell, he's also really active. And even now, out of like I think almost the 30 packages that installed in the beginning, almost 22 packages are written by Taylor Otwell. And it has a really vibrant community that actually makes up for the lack of support by the tech giants. I mean, if other technologies are supported by them, then, and of course, what I would like to say is everything has its own place and everything has its own function. You want to do a particular thing, there's a tool for that, and it's up to you to you know, kind of choose and see what suits what you want to do. So that's my answer to it.
That's perfect.
Okay, I have one thing to add. Can I?
Sure,
Yes,
go ahead.
So I was seeing a meme the other day when, like a week ago, they bought Slack for almost $28 billion. So somebody posted a meme that PHP is dead, but something that was built in PHP was sold in $28 billion. So can you comment on that? Is it true?
That is so true, to be honest. I mean, that and I'm glad that you brought this up. It was Nuno Maduro, that is a senior guy in the PHP world, and he actually speaks at one of these LaraCons as well, the Laravel Development Conference as well in Pakistan. I think it was in 2018 last that he spoke, and he actually shared that this was something that was built on PHP. Slack was built on PHP. And everybody coming from any tech background is using Slack, and Slack has been bought for $28 million. So you can still build something with PHP and make that kind of money. So why not?
Come on, not million, billion. Billion would be right.
Sorry about that.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahil bhai.
So I think that's all for the day. I don't see any more questions for you. Thank you so much, Jyotsap, for being with us and for your time today.
Thank you.
Sorry. So perfect. Now moving on to our next speaker. So yeah, so we have Sajjad Sarwar with us right now, and this is going to be a last talk for the day. He's a big data architect with 10 plus years of industry experience. He's currently associated with S&P Global and building several complex data pipelines. He has also worked in Teradata as global delivery consultant and have deployed several data lakes for various telecoms and banks within Pakistan and in Europe. Today, he'll be talking about how to build your own search engine. So I'd give this talk to you. Sajjad, over to you.
Thank you, Madiha, and thank you, DevCon, for giving me the opportunity to give this session. So I'll just take a moment to share my screen. Okay. Can you let me know once you guys are able to see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, I have to pause and share again. So you can see it now, right?
Yep.
Okay. So welcome to this very session on how to build your own search engine. This session would be mainly around Elasticsearch. So before we jump on to the formal session, I would like to introduce myself. Rather, Madiha has already given my introduction. Thanks, Madiha. So I'm a big data architect. Currently, I'm working with S&P Global. I've been with S&P for about over a year now, and I'm helping them set up one of the biggest data lakes, which sources data from more than 200 plus sources. And it comes in, all the data comes in a lot of variety, velocity, and volumes, which are the 3 V's of big data. So before that, I was working with Teradata, as Madiha told, and prior to Teradata, I was also running my own startup on big data consulting with the name of Beetle Technologies, where we mainly worked on big database products, and most of the products were related to fraud detection. Just to name a few, we developed one great traffic detection solution for telecom operators, which was adopted by 2 largest telecom operators in Pakistan. In addition to that, one anti-money laundering solution was delivered to one of the mobile financial services companies in Pakistan. So that's what mostly we did in Beetle. And prior to that, I started my career with Strategic Plans Division, and I served as assistant manager and program manager in Nescom and Sparko. So if you guys want to connect with me, this is my LinkedIn profile, linkedin.com/in/Sajjad Sarwar. So please feel free to connect with me. So coming to today's agenda. So I'll start with a quick session on Elasticsearch, like what it is. It will have a getting started kind of thing, like how to read data from Elastic, how to write data into Elastic. Then we'll talk about index and search analyzers, which are in fact the brain of Elastic and the brain of the search, which performs the whole thing. And then we'll deep dive into how different analyzers work. And lastly, we'll talk about performing the real search. That is like, how we can plug in various input keywords and how Elastic would behave in response to those keywords, depending on how we have configured our analyzers, how we have configured our weights for various fields. So I'll talk about that in detail. And this would be followed by a demo session, a short demo session, and in the end, I'll take some questions. So what is Elasticsearch? As the name suggests, Elasticsearch is a horizontally and linearly scalable search and analytics engine. So there are two halves to Elasticsearch. The first half is in its name, like it's a search engine, but the second half is not in its name. That is the analytics. So we'll talk only about search today because I mean, that's the scope of the talk, but not to forget people who are not familiar with Elastic. Elastic is also a near real-time scalable, horizontally scalable analytics engine as well. That will be skipping today. So I thought that it would be honest to tell the second important aspect of Elasticsearch as well. So as I just told, that Elasticsearch is pretty simple. Like if you want, you can install it on your laptop. I have even installed it once on a very small node of 500 MB RAM and single core processor on AWS instance, and it works pretty well. And if you want, you can even deploy it on a cluster of hundreds or even thousands of nodes, depending on what kind of workload do you want to handle. And it's pretty simple to install. So Elastic interacts with the external world using only one protocol, that is HTTP, JSON-based REST API. So if you want to write data to Elastic, it has to be through the REST APIs. If you want to read data from Elastic, it has to be through JSON-based REST APIs. You want to do some configuration, it has to be through the JSON-based REST API. So the exposure to the external world from Elastic is all through the JSON-based REST API. And in front of that, if you want, like you can put a load balancer to distribute the load from the various clients. You might be having hundreds and thousands of clients sending in the search requests. So that load can be distributed by something like Nginx, which acts as a reverse proxy or a load balancer. So this is the overall architecture. And I mean, this gives you some foundational knowledge of Elasticsearch. So going to the quick start session, how to install Elasticsearch. It's pretty simple. I'll not be showing that in this session because all you have to do is just go to elastic.co/guide, go to the download session, download Elastic. It is a tar.gz file, just extract it and run Elastic, and Elastic will be available at localhost 9200. So Elastic by itself is just a service, and if you want to interact with Elastic, the best is to install another tool which is called Kibana. Kibana is basically a GUI which helps you to interact with Elastic very conveniently. So I'll just show you a glimpse of it. I deployed a trial version on Elastic Cloud. So if you just open up Kibana and go to its homepage, this is how it looks like. So basically, Kibana allows you to interact with Elastic if I have to tell you in one line what exactly it is. You can create visualizations on top of the data which is residing on Elastic. You can create dashboards. If I just have to show you one, this is a kind of dashboard which is built on sample e-commerce data set. I'm just trying to give you a flavor of it. This is not really the scope of the discussion, but I'm just trying to tell you, like, this is what Elastic and Kibana can do. And eventually there is, if you go to the bottom, there is a dev tool. This is the dev tool section where you can basically interact with Elastic using the JSON-based REST API, which I was talking about. For example, if I just have to see like what indices exist in Elastic, I'll just issue a get call to this endpoint, and it will just show me the list of indices that exist there. Just one thing to notice here is that the base URL is not included in Kibana UI because that is automatically prepended to the endpoints that you are trying to request. But if I click on this tool and click on copy as curl and paste it on a notepad, this is the actual curl request. So whatever the endpoints that I'll be calling in Kibana, they would be eliminated. They will be eliminating the base URL and will just refer to the rest of the endpoint. And the same practice would be followed in my rest of the presentation. So this is just like, I just wanted to give you a flavor of how Kibana looks like and how you can interact with Elastic using the JSON-based REST APIs. We'll talk more about the REST API in detail in upcoming sections. How to write data into Elastic and how to read. It's pretty simple. So the data which you want to write to Elastic has to be in JSON format. If it is not, you can easily convert it. So you just issue a post command to the index. Now, what is index? Just like RDBMS, in RDBMS, data is stored in tables. In Elastic, data is stored in indices. And when you want to perform an operation on the index, you have to call appropriate endpoint. The endpoint which is used for writing and reading data is called _doc. So we call that endpoint, and after that we just pass on an ID for that document, so that if we have to retrieve the same document in future, we can refer to the same ID and we can retrieve it. So the dataset which I'll be using in today's session has been sourced from kaggle.com. It is in fact a news dataset from Huffington Post for the year 2018. It has almost 6 fields. The category of the news, for example, this one is a crime news, the headline, who was the author of the news, the link to the news, and a short description and the date when it was published. So once you issue this post request, this is the response you get, that your write has been successful, and some other metadata information is also provided. Then if you want to read the document, you simply have to issue the get request on the same endpoint, index name _doc endpoint, and then followed by the ID, and you'll be able to retrieve the document, and some metadata information like the index name, ID, and version number of the document is also returned. And in the _source field, you get the original document that you stored. So pretty simple, right? If you want to store a lot of, let's say, millions of documents, you just issue this command. There is also a bulk load API available, but that is how you can write data and read data from Elastic. And now, if you want to fetch all the documents from the news index, you just call the _search endpoint and you get all the documents. So if you look here in the when you call the search endpoint, you will always get this hits attribute, which tells us that how many documents in total do we have here. And so this index is having 6 documents, and the first one is shown here, and the other ones are like outside the screenshot, but they do exist at the bottom. And we see the news items over here. And this is how to perform the search. Like, for example, if you want to search for all the news in news index, which are having the category of word news, you just call the _search endpoint, and in the category, you specify your desired category, and you'll get all the documents having that category. And for this data set, which was in fact having only 6 news items, there is only one document that is returned there, and here we can see that the category is word news. By the way, you might have noticed that I've written here the using Lucene syntax. There are 2 syntax which are supported in Elastic. The first one is Lucene. Lucene is also a search engine. Elastic is built on top of Lucene, but Lucene is not distributed in nature. So basically, Elastic provides a lot of way more rich functionality, which Lucene by itself does not support, including the distributed functionality, which Lucene lacks. So for now, I'm showing you the Lucene syntax, but shortly I'll show you the other syntax as well. Lucene is pretty simple one, but it's not really practically used. But I want to build up from not so complex things. I want to keep things simple. So this is an other search term where like we are again performing another search, but this time we are interested in documents which contain the keyword Trump or Putin in the headline, or the short description is having the keyword Robert. So it will return all the documents which either have the Trump or Putin in the headline, and short description is having Robert. And here we see that 3 documents are found in the search result, and the document with the highest score, which mentions, which basically shows the relevance of the documents with your search term. So the document with the highest score would come on the top, and then the second most relevant document, and the third most relevant document, and so on and so forth. And the way search works usually in Google as well, the most relevant document comes on the top, and this score defines the relevance. How this score is calculated, it depends on a lot of variables, but for now, just understand that more the score, more the relevance. And it is available for like whenever you call the search endpoint, it would be available for each document that is returned over there. So in addition to this one, now this is the same request which I showed you in the previous slide. The only difference is now we are throwing extra weight on the headlines. Usually what you want is that if your search term exists in the headline itself, that should carry more weight than the description. For example, if the Trump or Putin exists in the headline, that should carry more weight than the description itself. So I'm just making the headline field 10 times more relevant than the short description. And you see that as compared to the previous example which I just showed you, the match score in the previous slide was 3 point something, and now we are getting a match score of 20. Why? Because the headline is having Trump and Putin both in the headline, and there is a extra boost of 10 times on this field. Again, the same number of documents are found, but this document got a higher score. So as I was talking about, that there are two syntaxes available to perform the search. One is the Lucene syntax. The other one is Elastic Query DSL. DSL stands for Domain Specific Language. This is a very rich API, and it's very extensive. Like probably even I myself have not explored 100% of it, but yeah, it lets you perform. I mean, if you can think of anything about search, this DSL will provide you the flexibility to do that. So if somebody is interested, you can definitely go to Elastic documentation and go through the DSL at least once. So we are going to again perform a similar search as was shown in the previous slides. We want to search for Kim in the headline using the DSL format, which essentially provides a JSON to read the data. And if you look here, like we have got one document which had the word Kim in the headline. So that's what we got here. So that was a very basic search. It is just the tip of the iceberg. Like whatever I'll be conveying in today's session, that is also the tip of the iceberg that I can cover in 30 minutes. But what I just showed you was even the tip of that tip. So that is how it is. So let's deep dive into how search really works. So if you remember, like in on the agenda slide, I mentioned that there is something called analyzer, which acts as the brain of the search in Elastic. So the way you define your analyzer will basically dictate that how your search is going to behave. What kind of search results are you going to get? And I mean, basically this sits at the center of the whole search thing. I mean, for the newbies, it may sound like something very daunting or something very complex, but it's pretty simple. And I'll show you with some examples in the coming slides. Essentially, there are two types of analyzers in Elastic: index analyzers and search analyzers. Technically, there is no difference. Index analyzer and search analyzers are technically exactly the same. They are defined exactly the same way. The only difference is that where they are placed. Index analyzers are placed when you are trying to store data in Elastic, and search analyzers are placed when you are trying to search data from the Elastic. I mean, the data which is already stored into Elastic. If you want to perform the search, your search keywords or search string would be analyzed using the search analyzer. So for now, you just need to understand two things: that there is an index analyzer, which is used when you are trying to store data into Elastic, and there is a search analyzer, which is used when you are performing the search from Elastic. And in order for a document to be returned in response of your search term, let's say you typed something and you expect a document to be returned in response to that text, then the output of your index analyzer has to match with the output of your search analyzer. If you define your analyzer in a way that those two outputs do not match, then that document would not be returned. For now, just understand it at the high level. I'll show you a few examples in the coming slides, that the output of index analyzer and the search analyzers do have to match in order for the document to come in results in response to your search query. So that's all about these two types of analyzers. Now let's look at what exactly is an analyzer. So analyzer, basically Elastic Analyzer comprises of three main components: character filter, tokenizer, and token filter. That's it. These three things jointly define an analyzer. An analyzer can have 0 or more character filters, which means that character filter is optional, but usually you need it. Likewise, there can be only one tokenizer, not more than that, not less than that. Likewise, you can have 0 or more token filters depending on the need, but these three things will define, how analyzer will behave, and this analyzer will define how your search will actually perform, or how your search will behave in return. So let's look at some examples. So Elastic by itself has many out-of-the-box character filters, tokenizers, and token filters available. You don't really have to create your own. In most of the cases, you just configure already existing character filters, token filters, and tokenizers, and you are good to go. So in these examples, I'll be mentioning the appropriate character filter, token filter, and tokenizer and token filter at the bottom. So in this example, I'll be using HTML_strip as the character filter, standard as tokenizer, and lowercase as token filter. So let's look at this example and see like how this data would be stored if we pass it through this analyzer, which is shown in the screen. So let's say our crawler got this sentence, which is having some HTML tags and some bold content, and the sentence itself is Islamabad is the capital city of Pakistan, and the capital city is in bold. So what HTML strip does is it removes all the HTML tags. It will even remove the inline CSS. It will even remove the JavaScript out of the page. It will just bring in the plain content. So that is what HTML_strip does, just out of the box. So you gave this at the input, and this came at the output of the character filter. Now the output of character filter goes as an input to the token filter. So we feed this sentence to the tokenizer. We are using standard tokenizer. Standard tokenizer essentially for English language, it converts a sentence into an array of words. But how different tokenizers would behave on the nature of the language and your settings of the tokenizer itself. For example, the tokenization may be done differently for Urdu language. It may be different for Chinese language, for Japanese, for Korean. So it depends on the language. But usually for English language, the words are split on the basis of spaces, punctuation marks, full stop. I mean, based on that. So the standard analyzer essentially converts this whole sentence into array of words. Now we feed this sentence as an output to the token filter. We have a lowercase token filter, which simply converts the uppercase into lowercase, and we get the same array at the output. Now this is something on the right bottom. This is what you see here would be stored in Elastic as is. There is one thing wrong with this token sequence, that it is having is the of, which almost exists in every document out there. So if your search string is having one of these keywords, it means that this document would appear in almost every search out there, because these connecting words usually exist in almost every text. So that is one thing. That's why I said, like, the way you configure your analyzer would define how your search would behave, and the output of index analyzer, if that matches with somehow with the search analyzer, then that document would appear in your search results. So this was just an example. I just wanted to show you how analyzers are created and what are the three main components of analyzers. Now let's have a look at some more analyzers. In today's session, I'll be discussing three analyzers. All three of them are custom analyzers, like I have defined them myself, and it's pretty easy to define. So we'll be discussing EN standard. EN stands for English. EN standard, EN stemmed, and EN autocomplete analyzers today. So let's go to the EN standard analyzer. So this one consists of HTML strip again as a character filter, standard tokenizer, but in token filter we have instead this time three token filters. One is ASCII folding, lowercase, and English stop. And I'll explain what it does. And the sample sentence which we are using is the fox jumps occasionally and the dog keeps snoring daily. So just note down that there are some HTML tags as well, and the T for the F is capital, D is capital, and so on. So as we discussed previously, HTML strip will simply remove the HTML tags. This goes as an input to the next tokenizer. Standard tokenizer simply converts this sentence into a word sequence. This word sequence goes into the token filter. Now there are three filters in place. ASCII folding is not getting in place in this example. I'll explain that in the next slide, but lowercase is simply converting all the uppercases into lowercase. Then there is an English stop token filter, which is removing the stop words. As we just discussed, the stop words are the words which connect the other words with each other. For example, the, is, am, are, to. So those words would be removed using the English stop filter. So all I have done is, like in my analyzer, I just entered this one line that I need English stop token filter as well. And it would, if you look at it from this token sequence, it has removed the fox is there, jumps is there, occasionally is there, and is not there, the again is not there, dog is there, keeps is there, snoring is there, and daily is there. All the stop words have been removed from this input text. So this is how EN standard works, and in the previous example, ASCII folding was not getting in place. ASCII folding essentially normalizes the special characters. For example, in deja vu text over here, this E is having an apostrophe sign on the top, and then this A is having a tilde on top. So essentially, when it goes through the ASCII filtering, and these characters would be normalized into standard English characters like this, as shown in the screen. So that's what all ASCII folding does. Coming to the stemming thing, so this is another analyzer where we, in addition to ASCII folding, lowercase, and English stop word, if you look at the list of the token filters, we have just defined 2 additional token filters: English stammer and English possessive stammer. So what stammer does is, like as the name suggests, it does the stemming of the words. For example, occasionally will be converted into occasion. Keeps would be converted into keep. Basically, it converts all the derived words into their root forms, and it's algorithmic in nature. It's not dictionary based. There are dictionary based stammers available as well, but in this example, we are using algorithm based stammers, which essentially convert words into their root forms. So let's look at this example. It's exactly the same example. The fox jumps occasionally and the dog keeps snoring daily. All the HTML tags are removed. It's converted into standard token sequence. This goes into the token filter, and again, ASCII folding, it was not applicable over here because the input text did not contain any special characters. Lowercase is applicable over here because it has converted characters into lowercase. English stop has removed all the stop words, and English stammer has converted jumps into jump, occasionally into occasion, dog, okay, dog is fine, it keeps into keep, snoring into snore, and daily into its root form daily. And what does English possessive stammer does? It removes the apostrophe s if there is any. In this example, it is not, but if there would be one, that would be removed by the possessive stammer. And why we are doing it, what we want here is that even if somebody is typing jumping or jump instead of jumps exactly, then our search engine or our analyzer should return that document in response. So if a different variant of the same word is typed in the search text, then the match should happen. That's what we want. That's why we did the stemming. So as I mentioned earlier, that if the output of your, so this is how the text would be stored in Elastic. This is the output of index analyzer. So your the output of your search analyzer has to have the same token sequence, or some of the tokens should be exactly the same as the tokens generated by the index analyzer. Now, for example, if your search analyzer is not doing the stemming and you type occasionally, then since occasionally does not exist in this token sequence which was finally generated here, so this document will not match until and unless you your search term is also, or your search analyzer also translates your input search text into their root forms. So that's why stemming is important to perform match on different variants of the same words. So the last one is EN autocomplete. So if you have looked at Google, as you start typing something, it starts suggesting you something. So that is the autocomplete feature. So if you look here, what autocompletion does is, this is an autocomplete analyzer. It consists of HTML strip character filter, lowercase tokenizer, which is more or less exactly the same as standard analyzer, but it also converts the uppercases into lowercase. And then there is a token filter, which comprises of ASCII folding, English stop words, and edge n-gram. What edge n-gram? So this is the only new one, right? We have already discussed with this before. So edge n-gram, what edge n-gram does is that it would split good into all its forms that you would possibly enter while typing the word good. For example, good would be split into G, GO, GWO, GWD. That's how you type good, right? Likewise, morning would be split into M, MO, MOR, MORN, MORNI, MORNIN, and the morning word completely. So what happens as a result, that as you start typing your input text, eventually, since your index analyzer would have that text stored in this edge n-gram format, your matches would start happening, and your search engine would start suggesting you the documents or headlines or words or documents which you should, which you might possibly be looking for. So that is how the auto completion feature works. So we just discussed the index analyzers. As I said, like index analyzers are defined exactly the same way as the search analyzers. It's only the context, the only difference is of the context, like where exactly you are using them. So the search analyzers usually for one particular field, for example, for the headline, you'll use the same analyzer at the time of search as you had used at the time of indexing. The only scenarios where you may want to use a different analyzer is where you, rather, this is not the only scenario, but one good example where you may want to use a different search analyzer as compared to the index analyzer for that particular field is the auto completion. Why? If we, let's say, if we perform, I mean, let's say if we use the index analyzer and search analyzer exactly the same. So even if I type the text great, then the first G would match with this document, which is absolutely irrelevant. So that's why for what we want here is that at the index time, autocomplete analyzer should be used. But when I type in my search string, it should, instead of autocomplete analyzer, it should be analyzed with the standard analyzer, so that as soon as I type GR, then this document becomes irrelevant, and there might be some other document where the word great or some other word starting with GR happens, and that starts coming on the top. So that's the only scenario where you may want to use different analyzers for a particular field. Otherwise, usually the analyzer for particular field remains the same. So now let's talk about performing the search. So usually, I mean, when you're trying to perform search, you have a pre-configured template. For example, if I let's talk about this one. Like here, we are just creating a search template. We are calling the underscore scripts endpoint, and we are naming our template as news. What this template does is like it is performing a cross-field search. Like it will search for the search text across all the fields. Like your one word may exist in one field and the second word may exist in another field. There are different options available, but in this example, I'm just using the cross fields. So in the fields, we have given a very high score to the headline, then a slightly lesser score to the stemmed. Why? Because if somebody has typed occasionally exactly as it is, the word occasionally exactly as it is, then that is a full match. So that should match with the standard analyzer. And if if let's say the 100% match does not exist, but a stemmed match does exist, then that should take the second priority. And then the third priority goes to the auto completion thing. So maybe there is no match on the exact text, there is no match on the stemmed format, then auto completion would take more precedence. And after that, relatively much lesser scores have been assigned to the author field, to the short description field, because usually in search, we want to give way more preference to the headlines than to the body of the news or the document. So the short description and the stemmed form of the short description is having relatively lesser scores. In addition to this, if you look here, I have, by the way, I mean, it's okay if you're not able to grasp 100% of the thing, but you can always go back to Elastic documentation and you'll find a lot of detail on this thing, but just try to get a flavor of what is possible over here. So we have defined different weights to different fields, and the order of preference is also different. In addition to this, if we go to the top, there's a prefix search. So the prefix search is that whatever you are typing, your search text, if that happens to be at the beginning of the headline, then that document should come on the top, because whatever you're typing happens on the beginning. So that is exactly over here. And likewise, here you see the wildcard search, where like if whatever you are typing, if that text exists exactly adjacent to each other. For example, you are typing good morning and good morning exists right next to each other in the headline, then that document we want to give that document an extra boost of 5,000 scores. So basically that is what is happening here. However, if good and morning are spaced, being separated by some other words, then this would not get into effect. Likewise, if good morning exists somewhere in between that headline, then this boosting will not come into effect, and the search will be performed by the middle segment only. So that's how you can tweak your search template. And once you have created the search template, you can simply pass it the parameters. For example, here I'm performing the search using the template we defined in the previous slide. I'm just referring to the ID of the template and passing it the parameters. What is my search text and what is the mode? Mode means like mode can be and or. So and means like all the words in your input text should match with the target fields, or means like any one of, even if one of the tokens matches, or even one of the words matches with the content which is stored in Elastic, even then the results would be returned. So this is how search is performed. Let's go to the demo. I'll be performing the demo of exactly the same thing which I just showed you. So let me come here. Let me delete the old index if it exists, also the template if it exists, and also the script if it exists. So this is the template. Basically, what is template? If we talk about the Elastic jargon exactly, in Elastic, template refers to the, this is where you define the schema of the index and also associated configuration. It's not just mappings. Mappings is like synonymous to the schema, but you can also define some additional configurations. So let me try to show you a few important things over here. And likewise, just give me a second. Sorry, ground. Okay, so as I just showed you in various examples in my slides, there are 6 fields in this index: the category of the news, the date, headline, link, short description, and authors. So if we expand on the headline, so we are storing 4 variants of the headline. The headline, which is analyzed by the EN standard analyzer, which we just discussed. Then the other variants are the stemmed version of the same headline, where the stemming happens on the words, and then the autocomplete version, and also the lowercase version of the same headline as it is. So these are the 4 variants which we are storing for this particular field. Same happens for short description. We are having basically 4 variants again. And this is where you define, this is the whole of analyzers thing which I just showed you. So in the analysis attribute, you can define analyzers. We talked about EN standard analyzer. Let's expand this one. So I showed you that an analyzer comprises of 3 components: character filter, tokenizer, and token filter. So if you look here, we have HTML strip as character filter. We have standard tokenizer, and in the token filters, we have defined ASCII folding, lowercase, and English stop words. This is exactly the same which I just showed you. Likewise, if we expand on the other analyzer, for example, the autocomplete analyzer, this one is having, again, the HTML strip as character filter, lowercase as tokenizer, and in the filters, we were using ASCII folding, English stop word, and edge anagram, which would do the splitting. So that is how template is created. So let's create this template. So that template has been created. So whenever data is stored on an index named news, this template would automatically get applied, and appropriate analyzers would also get automatically applied on the different fields. So let me delete the old index if there is any data, and I'm going to store 6 news articles into this. So these are 6 news articles, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if we want to now search all the documents, just list all the documents, I'm just going to call the news /_search endpoint, and we have got all the 6 documents which we just stored. And now I want to perform the search, which using the Lucene syntax, which I just showed you in the slides. So I just call this, and the search has been performed. We got 3 results, having Trump or Putin in the headline and Robert in the short description. Likewise, if I want Trump and Putin both should exist in the headline. If I perform this search, if you look here, now we have got results only where the Trump and Putin both exist in the headline. So that's how we have performed the search. Likewise, you can also use the Analyze API and see how your text is getting transformed while you store it. For example, how your headline.autocomplete would, how this field would respond if you input this text, good morning. So if I run this, so your headline dot autocomplete field would store this text like this: G, GO, GWO, GWD, and it would also split morning into the same format as you would type this string. Likewise, you can input this text for the stamped version, and you'll see that all the words have been transformed into their root forms. Jumps has been turned into jump, occasionally has been transformed into occasion. So you can use this analyze API to see like how your various input texts would behave. And eventually the same search template which I showed you, where you have defined different weights that you want to give to various fields in response to your search text. And lastly,
Sajjad, I believe we ran out of time. It's already 4:34.
I'm just closing this one. So this is the last thing. So if we just perform the search, this is how we can use the same template to actually achieve the search. So that's all about it. Sorry for spilling over the time for a couple of minutes. If there are any questions.
I don't think that I see any questions for you. I think that would be end for it, and we can go ahead. Thank you so much, Sajjad. Thank you so much for
have a great day.
For coming here. Thank you. So this conference has come to an end, and to share the thoughts and officially wrap up this 2-day annual conference, I'd like to call upon Chairman of Pakistan Software House Association, Mr. Barkan Pasha. Mr. Barkan Pasha is like I mentioned, is a chairman for Pakistan Software House Association. He's also the CEO of the software development house Vistec Solution. He founded On Demand Startups, which is an on-demand solution company. Here his role is to focus on marketing and sales pipelines for the company and the product development strategy. I'd hand this closing note to you, sir. We can't hear you.
Cannot really hear you. Probably you are mute.
Assalamu alaikum ji. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. It's an honor for me, and it's actually great to see the developers working on Saturdays and Sundays and having their own developer conference. So it's a great thing, and it's my pleasure to be here. So let me, I think because my role in the government is definitely working with the government on policy as Pakistan Software House Association. And there are a couple of things we are working on in the government for the benefit of IT industry. And one of the most important thing definitely is the quality of our skilled resource. Because we are in the world, we are competing globally for resources, and Pakistan or its exports, we only win or compete with the international sector with countries like Ukraine, Bangladesh, who have come on the horizon after India on the development map. Now there is more competition, but the good thing is that there is demand for very high quality skills. And you know very well that the IT industry is increasing 20% almost every year on year. We need to focus on definitely bringing new people into the development jobs, good people into the development jobs, good students. So there are a couple of things that are going in the government. Let me talk about also that. So the first most important thing is, for those of you who are already in the industry, I think it is very, very important that you continuously work and upgrade your skills. Go for example, if you are working in MongoDB, go for the MongoDB certification. Focus and spend time on learning on the weekends or after time, because if you're not learning, you will not be growing. If you're only relying on what the company is going to teach you or what you are learning at the company, I think you will be stuck and your pace will not be fast enough. So that is very, very important. इसमें मैं आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप लोग फोकस करें इस चीज के ऊपर और अपना टाइम लगाएं इस चीज के ऊपर, और कुछ ना कुछ टाइम, बेशक 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week डेडिकेट करें अपने आप को लर्निंग पे और ग्रो करने पे. और इसमें जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है वो ये है कि जब हम अपने आप को स्किल्स में अपग्रेड करेंगे तो हम compete कर सकेंगे ग्लोबली फॉर बेटर वर्किंग आवर्स एंड बेटर पर आवर रेट इंशाल्लाह. इसमें गवर्नमेंट के लिहाज से अभी एक पाकिस्तान सॉफ्टवेयर एक्सपोर्ट बोर्ड में एक सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोग्राम ऑलरेडी शुरू था, लेकिन अभी उसको दोबारा से रीटेंडर किया जा रहा है। उसमें तकरीबन 80% ऑफ द सब्सिडी प्रोवाइड की जाएगी Amazon, AWS, Azure, क्लाउड सर्टिफिकेशंस, इसके अलावा रिएक्ट की सर्टिफिकेशंस, Node.js की सर्टिफिकेशन, एंगुलर की ट्रेनिंग्स एंड सर्टिफिकेशंस। तो मैं आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट ये करूंगा, इसमें डेफिनेटली कंपनीज आपके बिहाफ पे, कंपनीज के थ्रू आप इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे, बट इसमें ज़रूर अप्लाई करें जब ये प्रोग्राम होगा। ये मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली जनवरी फरवरी में आ जाता है, तो इसमें ज़रूर पार्टिसिपेट करके अपनी स्किल्स को ज़रूर अपग्रेड करें। इसके अलावा डेफिनेटली एज पाशा वी नीड टू, हम जो डेवलपर्स हैं, हमारा एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है, हमारी जो इंडस्ट्री, हमारी जो कंपनीज है, कि वो नए आने वाले लोगों को ट्रेन करें इन द लेटेस्ट स्किल्स। और इसमें आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट द जॉब मार्केट इज सो बिग दैट इफ वी आर एबल टू ट्रेन गुड ग्रेजुएट्स into the industry, it's going to be phenomenal, and there is work for everyone. मेरा ख्याल है कि हर साल we are short of around 10,000 resources. अगर 10,000 resources market में, React Native में, Angular JS में, AWS Cloud में, Azure Cloud में, DevOps में, ये जितनी भी लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी है, Python में, इनमें ट्रेन होके आ जाती हैं, तो सारी की सारी इंडस्ट्री में एडजस्ट हो सकती हैं। बिकॉज इंडस्ट्री में ज़्यादातर लोग, इसी वजह से कंपनीज जो हैं वो लोगों को अच्छी जॉब्स पे नहीं लगा पाती, बिकॉज देयर आर नॉट इनफ पीपल अवेलेबल, और जो कस्टमर है उसको जहां भी अच्छा रिसोर्स मिलेगा, ही विल गो विद दैट रिसोर्स। गवर्नमेंट के लेवल पे एक पाशा का ही प्रोग्राम था, पाशा ने प्रपोज किया था, बट इट वेंट टू द गवर्नमेंट लेवल। दैट वाज कि 10,000 ग्रेजुएट स्कॉलरशिप्स, अंडर ग्रेड स्कॉलरशिप दी जाएं कंप्यूटर साइंस की, और फुली फंडेड स्कॉलरशिप्स हों। इस तरह का एक इग्नाइट प्रोग्राम रन कर चुका है, इससे ये प्रोग्राम अप्रूव हो गया है, इसकी लॉजिस्टिक्स और इसकी चीज़ें डिटेल्स फाइनलाइज की जा रही हैं, और उसको पीएम खुद लीड कर रहे हैं। इट इज़ एन 18 बिलियन रुपी प्रोग्राम, जिसमें पाकिस्तान के तमाम पोजीशन होल्डर्स जो कि डिफरेंट स्कूलों कॉलेजों में पूरे पाकिस्तान में पढ़ते हैं, उनको फुली फंडेड स्कॉलरशिप्स अलॉन्ग विद हॉस्टल का खर्चा एंड एवरीथिंग विल बी टेकन केयर ऑफ फॉर देम। इससे हमें उम्मीद ये है कि पाकिस्तान को जो ब्राइटेस्ट स्टूडेंट है, जो कि अक्सर नहीं आगे पढ़ पाता या दूसरी डिग्रियों में चला जाता है, वो कंप्यूटर साइंस की तरफ आएगा, जिससे हमारी एक अंडर ग्रेड में एक अच्छी क्वालिटी जो है वो आएगी। इसके अलावा तीसरी चीज जो पाकिस्तान सॉफ्टवेयर हाउस एसोसिएशन इस पर काम कर रही है, दैट इज अ स्पेशल टेक्नोलॉजी जोन फ्रेमवर्क। इसका ऑर्डिनेंस बन चुका है, ये अथॉरिटी फॉर्म हो चुकी है, और इसके ऊपर आप देखेंगे कि अगले 6 महीने के अंदर काफी सारी चीजें हो जाएंगी, कोई जोन भी फाइनलाइज हो जाएगी। इसका मतलब यह है कि पिंडी, इस्लामाबाद, लाहौर, कराची में कुछ जोन्स बनेंगी, जहां पे इन जोन्स के अंदर सारे आईटी पार्क्स इवेंचुअली मूव कर जाएंगे, क्योंकि यहाँ पे इतने सारे बेनिफिट्स होंगे, इकोसिस्टम होगा, दैट एवरीबॉडी विल इवेंचुअली मूव देयर। इसमें जो डेवलपर्स के लिए एक गुड न्यूज़ है वो ये है कि वी हैव रिक्वेस्टेड पेरोल टैक्स की, हमने एग्जाम्पशन मांगी है कि इसमें पेरोल टैक्स नहीं होगा, तो उससे एक आईटी इंडस्ट्री को इंशाल्लाह ताला बहुत ज़्यादा बेनिफिट होगा, जिसमें आईटी इंडस्ट्री जो है वो, उसके जो हमारी जो इनपुट है वो डेवलपर्स है, बिकॉज डेवलपर्स नीड टू पे वेल, एंड पाकिस्तान सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्री में एक मेजर प्रॉब्लम है कि डेफिनेटली जब सीनियर हो जाते हैं तो उनकी सैलरीज पे काफ़ी टैक्स कटता है। तो वी हैव आल्सो आस्क्ड फॉर एग्जेम्पशन ऑन दिस। देखिए, लोग इस पे ये भी करते हैं कि भाई व्हाई इज आईटी इंडस्ट्री गेटिंग ऑल द एग्जेम्पशन, तो इसमें मैं इस पे जवाब मैं खुद ही देता हूँ, खुद, इससे पहले कोई इतराज करे, वो ये है कि दिस कंट्री नीड्स फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मोर देन टैक्सेस, दैट इज द की। अगर आज कोई आपको मुल्क लाके, कोई इंडस्ट्री लाके $20 बिलियन या $50 बिलियन ला के देना शुरू कर दे, और आप वो ₹1 भी टैक्स ना दे, तो दैट्स फाइन, दैट इंडस्ट्री इज गिविंग यू डॉलर्स। और इसके अलावा स्पेशल टेक्नोलॉजी जोन में एक मेजर बेनिफिट जो आप लोगों के लिए भी इंटरेस्ट का होगा वो ये है कि इसमें जो भी इक्विपमेंट हम मंगवाएंगे, लैपटॉप्स मंगवाएंगे, ऑफिस की इक्विपमेंट मंगवाएंगे, इस पे कोई कस्टम ड्यूटी और सेल्स टैक्स नहीं होगा। सो दैट इज, इसमें इसका मतलब यह है कि आपकी IoT डिवाइसेस और आपकी जितनी भी चीजें हैं जो आप मंगवाते हैं, they will come duty free and tax free into पाकिस्तान। इसका मतलब ये भी है कि जब ये सारे बेनिफिट्स आ जाएंगे तो बड़े बड़े कॉन्ग्लोमरेट्स, जिस तरह बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज जो हैं वो पाकिस्तान का रुख करेंगी, और उसके बाद आई थिंक जो प्रॉब्लम हमारे लिए होगी, जो एज अ डेवलपर्स हमें देखनी है और हमारी ड्यूटी भी है टू द नेशन, वो ये है कि हमने सॉफ्टवेयर अपनी डेवलपमेंट की क्वालिटी को बेहतर करना है, और हमने मजीद लोगों को ट्रेन करना है, हमने गिव बैक करना है सोसाइटी को, क्योंकि गिव बैक करना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है जी। अल्लाह ताला ने आप सबको एक ऐसी फील्ड में रखा हुआ है जिसमें आप लोग अच्छी सैलरीज कमा रहे हैं। पाकिस्तान के जनरल जो पाकिस्तान में बाकी जॉब्स हैं उनके मुकाबले में आईटी इंडस्ट्री में स्किल्ड बेस्ड लोग आर वेरी हाईली पेड, वेरी वेल पेड। तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि आप जितना भी टाइम निकाल सकें, जितना भी टाइम डेडिकेट कर सकें, आई थिंक you should dedicate to training the new ones who are coming into the industry। और ये अल्लाह ताला का निज़ाम भी है कि जब आप जो चीज़ आपको दी जाती है, जिसको जब आप उसको अल्लाह के रास्ते में बांटते हैं तो अल्लाह ताला आपको बहुत और नवाजता है उन चीज़ों से। सो अगेन मैं डेटम स्क्वायर का स्पेशली थैंक यू करना चाहूँगा कि डेटम स्क्वायर ने ये स्पेशल इनिशिएटिव लिया और उन्होंने ये अच्छी कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑर्गेनाइज की। इस तरह के इवेंट्स होने चाहिए, इससे लोगों के अंदर एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट का, एक स्किल का जज्बा रहता है। और ये और हैकाथॉन्स और ये कॉन्फ्रेंसेस और कंट्रीब्यूशन, और एक मैं और आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा ज़रूर कि हमारी इंडस्ट्री में ओपन सोर्स कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत कम है। हम लोग ओपन सोर्स सॉफ्टवेयर यूज़ करने को तो बड़ा अच्छा समझते हैं, बट हम लोग कंट्रीब्यूटर्स बहुत बुरे हैं, हम लोग आर्टिकल राइटर्स बहुत बुरे हैं। आप अमेरिकन डेवलपर को देखेंगे, उसकी स्टैक ओवरफ्लो पे वो आंसर भी कर रहा होगा, वो उसका कोई ना कोई ओपन सोर्स कंट्रीब्यूशन भी होगा और वहां से वो कोड क्वालिटी सीखते हैं। आप अगर कभी लिनक्स के कर्नल के अंदर कोई एक छोटा सा बग फिक्स करके उस प्रोसेस से गुजरेंगे तो आपको आइडिया होगा कि किस क्वालिटी के प्रोसेस से वो लोग गुजरते हैं एंड हाउ द ओपन सोर्स कम्युनिटी इज हेल्पिंग ईच अदर। तो मेरी आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट होगी कि अपना कुछ टाइम गिविंग बैक टू द ओपन सोर्स कम्युनिटी भी डेडिकेट करें। That's all I wanted to say. If anybody has any question related to what government plans to do or anything related to Pasha, I would be glad to answer. इसमें हमारा पाशा का एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम भी हम शुरू कर रहे हैं, जिसमें हम अभी सीईओज को मेंटर करने का प्रोग्राम ला रहे हैं, जिसमें जो बड़ी कंपनीज के सीईओज हैं वो यंग कंपनीज के सीईओज को मेंटर करेंगे, एक डेडिकेटेड टाइम देंगे। दूसरा हम जो है वो डेडिकेटेड एक दो दिन की वर्कशॉप्स लेके आ रहे हैं, जिसमें एजाइल और एचआर की तो भी हमने अनाउंस की हैं, फर्दर भी हम मजीद अनाउंस करेंगे जो कि यूएसएड से सब्सिडाइज होंगी। उसमें पेयोनियर को हम ला रहे हैं एज अ पार्टनर। और तीसरा प्रोग्राम हम ये अभी कर रहे हैं कि हमने एचईसी को रिक्वेस्ट की है कि तमाम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के अंदर एक ना एक एटलीस्ट वन इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक कोर्स पढ़ाया जाए और उसमें बाखुदा प्रोफेसर्स को यूज़ करने की बजाय आप इंडस्ट्री के डेवलपर्स को वीकेंड्स पे बुलाएं और उनको अच्छा पे करें ताकि वो जाके यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के अंदर पढ़ाएं, जिससे हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में आने वाली जो इस वक्त तकरीबन सालाना 24,000 के करीब हम ग्रेजुएट प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, उनकी क्वालिटी बेहतर होगी। तो जब ये प्रोग्राम आता है तो मेरी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट होगी कि इस प्रोग्राम में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेट करें। वी आर ट्राइंग, आप भी इस पे आवाज़ उठाएं कि सैटरडे को, वीकेंड्स को, ठीक है आपके लिए वीकेंड एक लगाना पड़ेगा सैटरडे वाला दिन, बट आई थिंक इट विल बी बेनिफिशियल बिकॉज अगेन लॉट ऑफ पीपल विल बी एबल टू अर्न एक्स्ट्रा इनकम। डेफिनेटली यूनिवर्सिटीज इतनी ज़्यादा पे नहीं करती, दे पे 2,000 to 3,000 रुपीज़ पर आवर फॉर अ क्लास, 3 घंटे की क्लास होगी। बट अगेन जो भी आपको मिलता है दैट्स नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, द मेन थिंग इज गिविंग बैक will be very very beneficial to us, and if somehow we can train 10,000 graduates, good quality graduates per year, और वो आप लोग ही ट्रेन कर सकते हैं, वो अनफॉर्चुनेटली प्रोफेसर्स या वो लोग नहीं कर सकते। दे आर गुड एट टीचिंग थिंग्स लाइक कैलकुलस एंड रिसर्च बेस्ड एरियाज, but they cannot teach you Node.js programming and they cannot teach you NoSQL database architectures or the things or polyglot databases। तो अब आपको लग रहा होगा कि पाशा चेमन के साथ एक डेवलपर भी बोल रहा है, बट आई हैव बीन अ डेवलपर फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम। So thank you very much. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Barkan, for the motivational session. Now we have few questions, if you could entertain. Okay. Okay.
Hi Barkan bhai, this is Rahil Kokar from Islamabad. It's not a question, it's a couple of suggestions from my side. You can ignore them, or if they feel worth, so you can take it along. So first one is, I was having a look at the banner where Pasha mentioned the training programs, where I could say different technologies. One thing that was missing was that I feel in my industry there is a gap, that is project management gap. You mentioned one of the facet of it as an agile, but project management in a whole, if we can train our industry people on that, that will going to be great. If you can somehow add that into your training programs for companies under Pasha, that will going to be great. One thing from my side. Second thing you mentioned, industry and university collaboration. So, and you requested the people like myself to go into universities and serve there. People like me and the guys you can see on screen from Code Movement platform, we are even ready to serve free of cost. I'm saying this on behalf of our whole team. We are going to serve on free. We won't even take salaries from them. But my experience have been with some of the private and public universities in Islamabad. The process had been very painful for me. I mean, I couldn't really focus on the education, the content I wanted to produce. I was entangled more towards calculating GPAs and collecting assignments. You know what I mean to say. So these are two suggestions, if you can address them or take it along.
Right. So as far as the skills are concerned, we started with some of the skills. We definitely plan to extend them. The skills are based on a survey that the CEOs filled, that this is what they're lacking. We understand that project management, as in the PMP professionals, you know, in the industry is not very much, any people, industry people are not very much interested in the PMP as at this time. They are more interested in two areas of it: project Scrum, Agile, and on the second area they are interested in is the product management, which I believe that we are highly lacking in the industry. You can't find very good product managers in Pakistan. But PMP is being given by the Pakistan Software Export Board certification program, where they are subsidizing. So if anybody is interested in that, they can go there as well. Our initial was that we just start with whatever minimum